We are going to be discussing Sicha Beis, Parshas Boy. It is a very, very fundamental Sicha in the Indian of Edus, and we're going to try to expand on the Rebbe's words. The Rebbe starts off just to get the sugya that's being discussed. The Gemara Rosh Hashanah Daf Chav Beis says of Ubenoi that they saw the Chodesh Yelchu, they should go together. So now the question is, but they're craving, they're relatives, and halacha is Edus is not good with relatives. So he said, they don't combine with each other to be a good Edus. So they're actually possible, but they may end up being part of an other group of Edus. Nope. Craven are kosher. This is the machlek. The Gemara discusses the machlekes. Amar Ablevi, my time in Rab Shimon. What's the reason for Rab Shimon? He says because it says, "Vayema Hashem el Moshe." Hashem said to Moshe, "V'el Aaron, Eretz Mitzrayim, Leimer Hachodesh Elochem." So he translates Hachodesh Elochem. Edus zu teiksheira b'chem. This Edus is kosher with you. Rabbanon, no. Edus zu te mesura lachem. They learn that this Edus is given over to you. Yeah. What does that mean? It has to go through Bezdin. But we'll see soon an interesting take on this. Okay, that's the Gemara goes on to our discussion, who's halacha like, and so forth. So the Rebbe brings a biur from the Rebbe Marash, in Reb Shimon's opinion, because it's a really, really interesting opinion. Now, we'll see soon a whole different approach to Edus and Kiddush HaChedesh, and so forth. But Reb Shimon said, the Rebbe Marash explains that Edus is different. Edus HaChedesh, the witnesses for the new moon, are different than all other witnesses. Because Bezdin really knows when the new moon is coming, because they do their calculations, as we live today. Today we rely on calculations. So we know it without the Edus, and therefore relatives are also good. So obviously that's going to need an explanation why there is what do you need both? Okay, we will get to that. And then he goes on. Sorry, I'm battling a little cold, and so that's why I kept pushing it off. Anyway, then I'm having ill because you say that I really everybody. Big Zion Alocha Zion writes. Kemoishin istavenu lachtech esadin al pishnei edim. Sure. He compares listening to a Navi, just like the Abish told us that we have to listen to Edim Ksher, even though it's possible that they should be liars. But if we assume they're Ksherim, we assume they're kosher, take on their kashrus. And he goes on and Perek Ches, Halacha Beis, everything being both, but same idea, even though we don't know if it's true. So that brings out from that that from here we see that Edus is not because we trust two people come in. They're great guys. No. It's a decree. The Abish says you got to listen to them, and that's it. That's what Aedus. And this is found in other places. The Rambam says this that Torah passed craving in Ilchas Eidus. The Rambam writes, and not because we're afraid that they're lying because they like each other. You're not allowed to lie. You're not allowed to testify even against the Karev, even if you might like them. Then you're definitely not going to testify against them. And the Rambam says, "El Exeris Hakosim." It's all Exeris Hakosim. Eidus is not logic. It's Exeris Hakosim. So therefore, according to Rab Shimon, by Eidus Kiddush HaChedesh, we don't really need that Xeris HaKosim of Eidus. Because we have the best knows when the Chedesh is. What you need is the further verification of when the Chedesh is through the Eidus. So therefore, Kraven also believe, because Kraven might not believe. They're just not. The Torah says no. They're very big Kiddush, but that's the part of the Reb Shimon. Now, we that hold like the Rabbanon, as the Rambam Paskins and Hilchas Kiddush HaChedesh, Ein Kosher Eidus HaChedesh, Shnei Anoshim Ksherim Aruyin Lahoyin B'chol Dover V'Dover, Aval Noshim V'Avodam Arein Geshar Psul Eidus Eidus, you have to have people that are kosher all over. So Akoch, you have to say, like Kiddush HaChedesh, there is also some sort of Xeris HaKos. So why do you need both? That this is the Torah, so Rabbi says, this is the Torah required Adam, even though there's a Cheshvan, which is even better than Adam, as we'll see later. I mean, as I said, but that's obvious with the Rambam. But you see that the Torah wanted more than just the Cheshvan. And the Rabbanan learned that they only added beer. They didn't only add beer. They also added the din of Eidus. The Torah wanted that Xeris HaKos of Eidus. We don't really need it. Doesn't matter. That's what the Torah wanted. And he brings there's a Mefaresh on the Rambam, and he brings a part of it, but I want to just give a quick overview of what he says. So the Mefaresh on the Rambam over there in Halacha Vav says, if you're going to ask why, when the Bezdin knows that the moon will be seen and Eidim don't come, we make the month Mole. And why don't we that? And even though it can come out from their cheshbon that the moon will be seen, and we don't rely on the cheshbon, we wait till Eidim come. And if they know that it wasn't seen, we don't wait. We don't listen to them saying cheshbon. We go on the cheshbon. He goes through a whole thing here. He says the following: if they know the cheshbon that it won't be seen, and Eidim come and say that it's they to us it seems they're Eidei Sheker. That's why we don't rely on them, and therefore, and it may not even have the Sheker. They might have just thought they saw something else. But really, the Torah wants both. That we rely on the two things together: seeing and calculating. And it says on Pishnayim Eidim, you need two Eidim, and therefore when they know the Cheshbon and they didn't come, they don't do the Kviyas. They have to wait, even though they know the Cheshbon. They push it off. In other words, you need both. That's the Mefarish. You need both. And then in the Ara there, number 23, the Rebbe notes the Tesis Yantiv, Rosh Hashanah, L'cheri Yas, comes out, they relied on the Cheshbon. What do you need to aid them? Because that the Amish showed them the moon and said, you got to see this because they're a Kadesh. And therefore, you need both. Finished. That's the bottom line. It's Xeris HaKosim. You need both. It doesn't necessarily make sense, But that's the fact. Now the Rebbe asks, again, this in the end we need exercise custom. So what is Eidos Achedish different than all other Eidos? And we need them Sachesh. Why do we need both? Let's rely on the exercise custom Eidos. If you told me it's a beer of Eidos, okay. But if you tell me it's exercise custom Eidos, what do you need? Why do you need the Cheshbon altogether? So he goes on to a beautiful explanation in Pnimius in Yonim, as he writes himself there, that Eidim is the idea of Riyah, and that's higher than Avon of Asaga, which is that take of Torah Mitzvah Gzeres HaKosim. Cheshbon of Bezdin is Avon of Asaga. And the Eidus has to fit Avon of Asaga Bezdin. And that's the Indian of Lomaila Me'adas that's drawn into Pnimius, and that he goes into a long arichas and that. So I would like to take this idea and explain it in Nigla and show how this fits also in Nigla, the same concept of Pnimius, Atayra, as both of them fit. And as we are in the time of the Yartzeit of the Alter Rebbe, who brings together, who was the author of both Pnimius Atayra and Nigla Atayra, and Shnei brings it all together. Okay, now the Rebbe alludes to a very important. I want to discuss this just quickly because it's something that we need to know. It alludes to in the Ha'ara there to the Rasag, Psadi Goyin. Psadi Goyin has a incredible shita about Kiddush HaChedesh. Sorry, I wouldn't drink usually, but I need to have drink. Anyway, so Psadi Goyin, and if you look up in the Sefer of Psadi Goyin, which is Lavin of Kufnum Zayin, Kufnum Ches, it's a whole bunch of they go together. If you know the system there, and the beautiful official Perlstein, who did an unbelievable work on the Psadi Goyin's poem, and he goes on to say this, that Eidus Kiddush HaChedesh is not necessary. It wasn't necessary. Really, Kiddush HaChedesh goes according to the Cheshbon of best. And Eidus was only put in because of the Tzedekим and Baisusim that came along with Tainus on the Cheshbon, and therefore they added that. Now that is very, very controversial. The Rebbe Rav that says that you can't accept that they should allow Chil Shabbos for that. So the Rebbe official, her love, writes that no, once they made the takana, they can do it. In other words, Bezdin definitely has a koyach to do it, so they can do whatever they want. It's given over to Bezdin. Bezdin can decide I want to do it through Eidim. All right, and it's just beautiful to see Rabbi Bachaya Bash's boy brings the Rasag and goes in the Shitta, and he goes on that that Kachoy in Kol Yisrael Lekvaya Chadosh of Yacheshbon Elef Mei Shon Mi Meis Moshe Rabbeinu Ad Antignus Reish Geil Reish for from Moshe till Antignus, all they did was go according to Cheshbon. However, Antignus had students called Tzaddik Ubaisis, and they went off the OTD, and they said that no, you need to see the moon, and in order to show that their cheshbon is right and everything, they went with them seeing the moon, and they showed that their cheshbonis are right. And he goes, it's a beautiful discussion all over. There's just to note, it's clear that the Rambam does not agree with this. The Rambam says clearly, Allah Moshe, we've seen that there are two ways to Mekadosh Levana, and we're going to talk about that. So we need to focus on that. But this is an important note, important in a concept to note and be aware of. All right, I want to just mention now a few things in the Rambam quickly, because I don't want to go too long on this issue. I could spend a lot of time, but I don't think that's the purpose of the shiur. I want to just try to get to the point. But in order to do that, I want to bring a few things that the Rambam writes. Rambam and Hilchos Kiddush HaChedesh. Really, to really get to the bottom of this, we got to go a lot of halachas Kiddush HaChedesh, but we're not going to do that. Just to give you an overview. The Rambam and every halacha starts off with a hakdama and tells you the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs asay achas. Listen. He l'chashev v'leida v'lekvaya be'ezi yem hu tchilas kol chedesh v'chedesh v'chad. To calculate, know, establish which day is when the kol chedesh v'chedesh v'chad. When is the beginning of every month? Now, then he goes into the halachas. Now, in halacha aleph to halacha hey, he explains the concept of Chelek, Levana, Chama, the months of the year that go according to the moon, and months of the year that go according to the according to the sun. In halacha hey, he says an interesting thing, and I want to read it because there is some points of it. Ein riyas hayrech mesura l'chol adam. This is not something for everybody to judge. Come on, Shabbos Bereshis. Shkolachet meine shisha v'shevis b'shvi. Incredible Allah, the line of the Rambam there. Ela lebezdin adava masa achi kachu bezdin v'yikvu oisa yom rish chodesh. Hu shiur rish chodesh. Shenema achiz elechem eiduzu tiyam elechem, which is exactly the lashon that the Gemara says. But the way he presents it, it's not like Shabbos Bereshis. It's like he still hasn't told us that there's any mitzvah of taking on Eidus and all that. And then he goes on in Halacha Vav and gives you a whole rundown of the Cheshbeinis. And now, once you have the Cheshbon, then he says, Yeshrin, the Mitzapim, La'edim, Kola, Yankula, Shahu, Yem, Shleishin. And then he explains what we spoke about earlier. Now, here, listen. Till Halacha Zayin, there's not a word about a mitzvah of Edim. Mitzvahs, I say, Menatayra, Al-Mezn, Sheyachshavu, V'yedu, Im Yerech Al-Eirech, V'sheyidrishu, Edim, Achi, Yikach, Lached. I mean, this sounds strange. Yakshu Yedu, the Yidrishu Zaydam Achi concentrated. What's going on there? What's going on there? It should have said the right in the beginning. Mitzvahs I say, like he does with most mitzvahs. No, in the whole, in general, tells you what the mitzvah is, and then explain. And also, he should have said mitzvah say that happen. Yakshu Yedu, the Yidrishu Zaydam Im Yerech Alei. But you see clearly there's a process here. Okay. And then there's so many halachas that are contradictory. On one hand, we're not makbid on the Eidim in certain things. On the other hand, we say clearly that Bezin can do even with a mistake. It could also be Mekadosh L'Chedesh. And so on and so forth. There's a lot. I mean, there's really a lot to discuss here. And I don't want to spend the time in it. But I want to just end one more halacha. Perek hey halacha beis, he writes. The dove is halacha l'meshusina. Listen closely. This is halacha l'meshusina. Obviously, here is where he's negating any other thoughts that we had before from the Rasag and so. Sheviz man sheyesh Sanhedrin kevin al hariyah. When there's Sanhedrin, you have to establish with hariyah. Was man sheyesh Sanhedrin kevin al chesed. Zeh shana v'chasher. So it would seem that if I can. In time of basic English, Riyah is the main thing, right? Elpamim, she came by the cousin and Zell, Yay Maria, Kaiden, that's today. But that, but the time when there's a Sanhedrin, I'm area. Now, Pirsham Shnayis. The Rambam adds a few words to the word Eiduzu Mesura Lachem. We said before. Pirush Eiduzu Te Mesura Lachem. Klema. Sharias HaChodesh in Yonah, Masala Bezin. The seeing of the Chodesh, Eiduzu means the seeing of the Chodesh is given over to Bezin. Well, what is it coming to do? Exactly what he wrote in the Rambam. Loi L'chal Adam Sharu Yochel Lasses Chag L'fi Riyosei. Not everybody can make a Yom Tov based on what he saw. So Eidus means Riyas HaChodesh. Not everybody seeing Eidus. The Bezdin has to see it. That's what it sounds like. Anyway, again, I'm not doing justice to the topic because there's so much here, but I want to just cut to the chase. Okay. The Rebbe quoted the idea that Eidus is Exeris HaKos. So I would like to add to that a little point. How does this Exeris HaKos work? The Rambam uses a lotion all the time, Lachte Chadina Pied, which means that the purpose of the Eidus is, the purpose of Bezin is just to decide the verification of the Eidus and to decide that the Eidim are correct, are saying the truth. Once the Eidim are saying the truth, Bezin is sort of nothing more than the ones that are carrying out based on the Eidus, based on the Eidus. They are the arbiters, not the ones that make the decision. They make the decision that the Eidus are good, then they follow through based on the Eidus. That's Eidus and all over the Torah. They make it happen. They're a function of the Eidim. It's an incredible way of thinking that the Eidim are really the main part, and the Bezdin is nothing more than a means to carry out what the Eidim are saying. But they have to carry out only based on the fact that they verify the Eidim. However, the Chiddush of Eidus HaChodesh, and I think this is what the Rebbe is saying in the previous part also, is that there's another. Bezdin is not just a carrying out what Eidim say. Bezdin needs to use their head and figure it out and understand that that's what it's going to be. They're not just a means. They're the ones that make a decision. What is the Gzeres HaKos of Eidus by Eidus HaChodesh? You need to see. You have to have that ultimate vision, clarity of fact. Not enough. All your cheshbeinis are cheshbeinis. But when you see, as we say, seeing is believing. Riyah is the greatest way of knowing. Eidim are the eyes of Bezdin. The Rambam said, Riyas HaChodesh Mesura Lachem. They become the eye. That's the Gzeres HaKos. That when Eidim see, Bezdin sees. So Bezdin ultimately the ideal is, and that's the halacha Moshe Sinai, if you can have Eidim to add to the cheshbon, and that you can have a visual of what it is, that's the way you paskin. It's all about clarity. It's all about lachshe. Bezdin has to make the cheshbonis, and the cheshbonis have to lead that, and that's the what I'm lachshe v'leida v'lekvaya. That's part of the lachshe. The ultimate clarity is when you see. That's the Gzeres HaKos of Eidus. So the Eidim, They go and they bring it to the Bezdin and they become and it becomes part of the Havana Saga Bezdin. And now you can what the word of the Rambam when he means Allah means either Ria means Einei Seichel, or it means that the ultimate birur is Ria, but it's all in the aspect of birur. That you need a Bezdin Laksha V'Leida, Eidim help them Laksha V'Leida through the Ria. Now, that's the ultimate. But obviously, if Eidim can't, and Eidim don't come, you go to whatever you can. You do the best you can. In other words, it's all in the clarity of Bezdin. You go to the ultimate clarity that you have. That's the halacha Moshe Sinai. Okay, so now it comes out very, very good. That the whole idea, of course, there's Eidim. And of course, it's Lachshav and Leida, as Rambam says, it's all about Bezdin coming to a conclusion. Not like every case where Bezdin is just an arbiter of carrying out the Eidus. Here, the Chiddush of the Gzeres HaKosav is, in the Lashon of the Rambam, the Riyas HaChodesh Tali B'Chem, you need to see. And that's why the Rambam gives that introduction. Not like not anybody who sees can say, I saw, so I know. No. It has to be part of Bezdin's birur. They make the cheshbon, and then they come to the conclusion. They them come in, and now we say, you have verified what we have calculated. That's the key. We have a verification of their calculation. And those are the two things together. Anyway, I think that fits very well with the Rebbe's Panemius part 2. And it just gives you a nigla understanding of that same idea. Be well, take care.